I'm going to show you a simple example of how we create the semantic representation for a sentence. And I'm going to choose the last part of the verse 2 Kings 6:16. And this is something that Elisha is saying to his servant. And he says in the NIV, in the left column, it says, "Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." The Easy English in the right column says, for verse 16, "There are more people with us than there are with them." The International Children's Bible in the middle column says, "The army that fights for us is larger than the one against us." So we cannot in our system represent something with those, like in the NIV. We have to say who those are. We could do like the Easy English and say there are more people with us, but I'm reluctant to do that because I think probably the ones who are with Elisha are angels. So I think I'm going to go with the International Children's Bible in the middle column, and it says the army that fights for us is larger than the one against us. Now again, we can't say the one, we have to say the army. So instead of the one against us, we'll say the army against us. And another thing is in the NIV it said those who are with us are more than those who are with them. I think I'll go with that construction, the ones who are with them or fighting for them. So let's go to our program, the Bible Translator's Assistant, and I'm in the Utilities Proposition Analysis. That's where we analyze, we convert our English-based semantic representation to what we call the phase 2. So now I'm going to click on Edit Text, which is a button over here on the right, and I'm going to start to write this sentence. Okay, I'm going to use voice recognition to help me do this faster. The army, left bracket, that fights for us, no space, left paren, Elisha, right paren, right bracket, is bigger than the army that fights for those people, right bracket, period. Okay, my voice recognition was making it capital Army. I'm going to change that to lowercase army. So you notice here that there are what we call relative clauses that describe these armies, the army that fights for us, and I put those in left brackets. And also when I have the first person plural pronoun us, I have to say who that is in the program, so I put in parentheses Elisha. And again, I spelled out the army instead of the one, and I said who it's fighting for those people. So I'm going to click on OK. And now the TBTA can make a first pass at analyzing this to give us what we call our phase 2 representation. So the button for that is down in the bottom right, this little button called Analyze, and I'm going to click that. now you can see there's an hourglass symbol, and that shows that the computer's working. It's trying to figure out the meaning. And now it's stopped. So now we can see there's a sentence, and the big double left bracket shows the sentence boundary, and the big one at the end is the end of that sentence. You can see there's a period symbol that marks the end of a sentence. And now we can look at the phrases. So the phrases are in the single brackets, and there's an NP, which is a noun phrase, army, and then there's a clause, a subordinate clause has a smaller double bracket. So this subordinate clause modifies army. Army that fights, and I'm going to check if I hover the mouse over fight, I see in the tan cream shaded box below it says to fight a war against a person or a country, so it got that right. The army that fights, and then there's another noun phrase, and if I hover the mouse over the NP symbol there, I see in the second row it says the semantic role is beneficiary. Beneficiary is when you do something for somebody. So this army is fighting for us. And when I hover the mouse over Elijah, I can see the features there, and the fourth row says the number is plural. It's not just Elijah, but he's the person he's talking to. And if I look down farther, it says first inclusive. So that means when he says us, it means me, Elisha, and the person I'm speaking to, which is the servant in this case. So be predicative, that's the form of to be that when we have an adjective, someone is something, in this case, big. Big, if I put that over the feature below big, it shows degree is comparative, so that's bigger. So now the noun phrase says what it's bigger than. It's bigger than the other army, the army that fights for those people. So, I'll save that verse. Now let's see what happens when I push generate. So down in the bottom, next to analyze, you can see there's a generate button. And this will generate it in our analyzer language, which is like English. Okay, here's what it says. The army that fights for us is bigger than it. Okay, that shows there's a problem. So the computer figures that the second instance of army is the same as one that's already been mentioned, and so it replaced it by the third person pronoun it. So why would it do that? Well, we had another instance of army in this verse, the army that fights for us. So the computer thinks that that second instance of army is the same thing, and so it's replacing it with it. So we have to tell the computer that this is a different instance of army. At the bottom right in the screen, you see what we call the thing list, and it shows there are 3 nouns in the sentence, army, Elisha, and person. So we have to tell it there's a fourth one, a second instance of army. So to do that, I click in the fourth row, and now I'm going to click on these instances of army, which is the other army. And now I'm going to generate again and see if that fixes it. So the hourglass symbol is showing the computer's working. And then in the bottom right, now it shows the army that fights for us is bigger than the army that fights for those people. And if there were earlier verses that referred to those people, this might be replaced by them, but in this case it's not. So that's a simple example of how we can build the semantic representation. First the phase 1 that looks like English, and then the phase 2, which is more abstract with these features.